So one of the steps of putting the table together, since I have everything apart, is to change out the rubbers, which bounces the ball around. So the rubbers weren't that bad, weren't that worn, but I bought a new set anyway, because some of them, you know, around the flippers were more worn than others. So I bought the set. It's cheaper to buy it in a set than it is to buy it individually. So this is the bumper that is up at the top of the play field. So when you first shoot the ball, it comes around the top apron and hits this thing and bounces back. And so it's only got one spot, and really I could just like loosen this up and rotate it to another spot and it'd probably be fine. But that's just one rubber. There's a whole bunch of other rubbers that need to get replaced. So when I ordered the kit, it came with a new rubber. And then this gets screwed into the top of the metal apron. So it's a good time to take these apart and replace the rubbers while you get everything disassembled. And so this has the bracket and the screw, and oh, it's got a second screw, and so there's two screws between the brackets there, and a big washer and another washer, and so that kind of actually compressed it and made it sort of bulge out. So I think one end went like this. I think the other end was concave the other way. Now if you're working on pinball tables a lot, there's a couple of tools that are really essential, really handy. And if you ever go to a website called Pinside, full of pinball enthusiasts, they have a couple of threads that talk about people's toolkits, people who actually do this kind of maintenance stuff. And one of it is these kind of nut drivers. These have a magnetic tip on it, so it picks up the nuts. It doesn't drop back into the machine when you loosen things. So there's like two major sizes that get used in pinball machines all the time, and so you can get a set of these pretty cheap. But really, yeah, if you're gonna do this, you need to like build up a toolbox so you have everything you need. Needle nose pliers, another thing you need. I'm not using this tool really for the right thing, but it works in a pinch. So tighten this up, give it a little compression there, but it also gives me enough thread to get through this post here. Oops. Get through this post and tighten up this nut. All right, so one rubber replaced. I'll go put this on the table and I'll grab some more things. And yeah, you can really feel the difference. This rubber is kind of a hard, slick outside. Almost feels like it's gonna crack, and this has got a nice soft, squishy, kind of like a cheese, like you can take a bite out of that. This feels like it's been set out in the sun for a little too long. So, all right. Okay, we're putting the table back together, and I'm starting to work on some of the plastics. You know, I got the pop bumpers I was working on. Poor little red one I screwed up. Flippers are going on down there. So I started up at the top here, and again, it's more puzzle pieces. These two are bumpers. They got the new rubbers on them, and this is what I call the top part of the river. It has this plastic. Some games use metal for this. This one uses plastic. And I had to put the lights in. These are the warm lights, frosted warm lights. And they had to go in before this goes in. And then these bumpers had to go in before this piece goes in. So this piece has two metal tubes to, they go over those metal tubes, and then there's a long screw that goes over it. So you can see I had to put those bumpers in before screwing this down. So yes, it's all a big puzzle. You gotta do things. You know, be prepared to take things apart and put them back together. All right. So I got the top piece of plastic on. Now, the top plastic really doesn't take any of the impact, right? It's just there for the looks. And it's got two screws on here. It has these columns here to help, you know, protect it. And I think it has like a little bit of strengthening around these holes. And a lot of people recommend you get these little clear washers to put between the screws and the plastic, so that way you don't over tighten and damage the plastic, you know, in case these move around, or you get a little overzealous. You should always tighten these with hand tools. Don't use electric tools on these, because you could very easily damage the plastics. All right. Yeah. So yeah, it's only supported on two spots, so it's really not supported in the back here. But really, like I said, it's not taking any impact. I guess the tops of those giving it some kind of support. All right. Shiny. Yeah. Back to this spot, because it's all about checking and double checking. And so when I put these on here, I just assumed that they were single posts. And you know, the ball could just bounce off of these, though it would bounce kind of oddly. But when I was looking through the bag of parts, right, when I took this all apart, I put them all in the same bag. This was the old rubber, so there's a single rubber that goes across both of those, which is providing the bouncing space for the ball. So I got to take these off. These are still new rubbers, so I'm going to put them back in the new rubber bag. And this is the old rubber. Here's the new rubber. Goodbye, old rubber. And there we go. Much better, much better. All right. So, again, it's about putting it together, taking it apart, putting it together, taking it apart, putting it together. So hopefully I got it this time. Okay. So when you're putting the table together and you put everything in and you take a look, you say, oh, that looks okay. But if you ever see a place where the ball can go in behind here and hit the lights directly, you know that you're missing something. You see that little hole right there? And there's another little hole in the back there. There's a little metal, a metal piece that goes there. Something like this. I don't think this is the right piece. I got a whole stack of these pieces. I gotta check it out. But yeah, there should be no way for the ball to hit the lights or the back of the switches. So when you're working on this, just do a double check. Okay, that's what it's like with the metal put in place, and so the ball won't be getting at those light bulbs. All right, that's the kicker. So when this rollover gets hit, then this thing will kick the ball out, and you score 1,000 points. Nice. Okay. I thought this was interesting. Some of these bumpers here use wood screws to screw into the wood, like this one here, and others are using these sheet metal screws, and they actually go into a bracket that's mounted underneath to provide really strong strength. So this this bumper here, let's see, this bumper here is like a pretty prominent bumper. So the flippers would be hitting this bumper a lot directly. This one, not so much, right? The targets are there. So I think they needed some extra strength for some of these bumpers to take the hits all the time. Because if it's just in with wood screws, you know, the wood will, over time, will get pliable and the bumpers will fail. So that's interesting. Some of these are sheet metal screws and some of them are wood screws. So I could tell that this one is a sheet metal screw, and some of these are just wood screws, like that one. Yeah, interesting. So that one must be because it gets a lot of impact from the pop bumpers or something. All right. Here's another thing to watch out for. There are two sizes of these bumpers. See, this one's a little taller than this one. And that's because this plastic goes over the short one, but not the tall ones. So you got to make sure that you do the right one. All right. So here, this one on the end's a tall one. And let's see. Did I do a small one? A small one there. Did a small one there, but I think I did a tall one here. I think I did a tall one there, so I'm gonna have to, that's kind of why it's sticking up. Gonna have to swap it out with a short one. Okay. All right, learning something new all the time. Okay, another step here. We've put the this is the slingshot, the left slingshot, and it also has two different size posts. It has the smaller post here and here, but the two posts that are giving it the support, which is screwed into, it's using the tall ones. And it's kind of tricky with this. You got to do it with the rubber in it. So put the rubber around and the plastic through this one, not while it's stretched out. Then once that's in, you can swing this out of the way and then stretch the rubber across this one and this one. And then you can hold the rubber out of the way with your finger while you get it through this plastic and through this post into the board, and that seemed to hold it down pretty good. And make sure you get those leaf switches behind the rubber there. All right, so that one's done. I'm going to go do the other one. Okay, so putting the table together, we've now gotten both slingshots installed, and the little gate up there is properly set up. All right, and the bumpers were the same kind of spots. Okay, now it's time to do the plastics up here and up towards the Gator. All right, so it's coming along. All right, I have put on the Gator. This Gator plastic. It had a post here and a post here. These are the two tall posts, and it has a rubber that goes across it. It's really hard to like keep this rubber stretched while you're screwing in this piece. Actually, it feels like it's up a little bit. I gotta get that down to the hook. All right. That still feels like it's a little high. Right, there's a... let's see if I undo this. Okay, so this is supposed to be right there like that. Okay, so it was kind of hard to have to, you have to screw this plastic in with one piece and have the rubber around it, and then you got to like stretch out the rubber and hold this in place while you put in the other screw. So that's a little tricky. And this plastic is not as thick as this plastic. And you can see that there's like some nicks and there's a crack here. And I think up here there's some damage, there's some crack, there's a crack here. And someone reinforced this. So this too, you have to like stretch it out and hold it while you are putting it in place. Okay. And then we got some short ones in here. To keep it out of the back mechanism. All right, so we got the alligator in place. Now, I am not fixing this up to be a collector's item. I am fixing this up to be played and enjoyed and protected so it doesn't do any damage when you play it. So that's a whole different level of maintenance and upkeep when you do a collector's edition. So you can see that like right here, let me get some of this reflection here. Right, I got this clear coated, but there's still some dents and stuff that the clear coat didn't flatten out. Really, I should have done a lot more coats and spent a lot more time making sure it all dries before putting another coat on. But that wasn't my goal. That wasn't my goal. I also saw this video of someone retouching the paint where they masked it off and they did airbrush and did a fantastic detailed job. But again, I wasn't doing that. I just wanted to fix any of the bare wood and fix some of the numbers and just make it playable. So you got to decide when you're doing this stuff, how extreme you want to go. Speaking of the pop-up bumpers, if you remember, I had messed up one of the pop-up bumpers, and this is the one that wasn't messed up. But I decided that since they were so cheap, I went and bought 2 new pop-up bumpers. What I did with this one was I experimented to see if a clear coat would help or not, and it made it a little shiny. But I kind of decided that, hey, the ball doesn't roll over this part. Really, it should be okay. What usually damages these parts is that the bulb inside is usually an incandescent, which puts out a lot of heat, and over time this yellows and ages and cracks and damages the plastics. So I think as long as I do LEDs in here, it'll be nice and last a long time. So since I got red ones, I figured I'd get yellow ones too, since they should all look fairly similar in age. I also got LEDs, which are the right colors, so that they'll light up red or yellow, depending on which ones they are, and look pretty nice. So I'm going to replace the tops of these. And now that I got the alligator and those river pieces done, I think it's time for me to, almost time for me to take it off the table and put the aprons and the bow tie on, and the top part. These bowls are usually white, and they have these little colored tubes which they would color it with. So I think I'm going to put colored lights up there instead of the tubes. And the other thing that happened is I got the rest of the leaf switch parts in, so I can finish up the leaf switches. So I'm going to put the tops on, I'm going to do the leaf switches, and then I'm going to take this off the rotisserie and put the bow tie and the top on, and yeah, then we should be good to go. I just wanted to show you a little bit about the comparison between the old and the new. This is the one that, actually I got this from Marco, but Pinball Life has them too. And this is the old one. Yeah, you can just see that the white is just aged, and the gold is just not so golden anymore. Yeah, so it doesn't make sense to just replace one of them. Really, you know, get the whole set, do them all at the same time. Otherwise, it'll stand out like a sore thumb. So let's talk about a special kind of switch called a mushroom switch. So you're familiar with rollover switches. That's things like this where the ball rolls over and it pushes down, right? Pushes down and hits a little leaf switch and does a contact. This is a mushroom switch, and when the ball hits it, let's see, where's the ball? Where's my ball? Oh, there it is. Okay. So when a ball comes and hits it, it knocks the switch up. So it's different than these where it knocks it down. This actually knocks it up. So the mechanism underneath is this switch right here, and you can see that the little post is there, and the post is holding the switch open so it doesn't close. And when that mushroom gets hit by the ball, then the little post goes down, and then this switch touches the other one and closes, right? That's different than these, where when something hits it, it lifts it up and makes contact. Let's see, where's my finger there? Yeah. See this, when the ball rolls over, it lifts it up and makes contact. So it's just in a different direction. Yeah, there's the mushroom one. Okay. So, learning something new. Mushroom switch. Okay, gotten pretty much everything together on the play field, and underneath I got a couple of the buttons I need to fix. These little rollover buttons. When I took them out to do the play field, they're plastic, and they got these little retainer rings that kind of hold on to it. But the plastic kind of is worn out, and so the retainer rings aren't quite fitting, and it's making it sticky, so the buttons don't pop up very well. So I'm going to have to probably replace those. I haven't been able to find the parts online, so I'm going to have to do some kind of manufacturing for that. So anyway, I was about to take this off the table and put the aprons on, but then I remembered that I got to clean the contacts on these relays. These relays are part of the system to keep track of the different states of the playfield for generating the points and the bonuses. And so the relays are these little metal, these coils which track this metal plate up, and they shift the little switches on the inside there. See that? And so we need to clean the contacts between those. So this relay, you can see this one's affecting 3 switches. This one, also 3 switches. That one too. Now it looks like all these are fairly normally open and closed when they hit it. The relays, oh, see here, this one has got a normally closed and an open. Right? So Gotta pay attention for contacts like that. The relays in the cabinet have a lot of these, normally open, normally closed. So you gotta make sure that everything's fit in the right spot, has the right clearance. Usually when one of these EM machines are failing, it's because of these relays and contacts somewhere in the system. And occasionally a broken wire. So I'm going to clean these contacts pretty much the same as doing the leaf switches. Just get some sandpaper, some light sandpaper, and put it in between and clean those contacts up. So I'm going to do that, and then it's time to take it off the table and put the aprons on. All right, putting the top on the top apron. The wood is split in the middle here, and this piece of metal provides the support for the ball to go rolling along. I've already sanded this edge so it's nice and smooth, and so it comes up from the ball lane and helps bring the ball around. And so this there are holes in this metal to allow the screws to go through, and there's also holes here for the lights. I had to take the light bulbs out in order to put that in. And then it has this metal bracket for the support, and it has holes that line up as well. So this has to go in here and slide in place for those holes. Okay. And then this is the top. This is the top apron that goes along here. So there's another metal bracket here that goes on top of that. It provides the support. But before that goes in, I have to put the light bulbs in. Now normally these had the red plastics that went on both sides, but I've gotten the red LEDs, so this should be nice and shiny. Of course I got to put it right side up. So I'm going to put these in and put the other metal piece in and tighten it all down. Dun 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 dun. Flying high now. I've gotten all the pieces together. Got the apron, flippers, slingshots, mushroom switch, the Gator. Got the top in there. It is all in place. And it's looking good. Still got a couple of things I need to take care of. We'll talk about that later. But right now, I'm just glad that I got all the pieces. Well, almost all the pieces back in place. I gotta find out where all those pieces go to. Got the new caps. Everything's done up with new lights. Again, this is not collector quality. This is just for play. You know, there's still you know, things scratched and dinged. But hey, the play field is sealed. I can play now without worrying about damaging any more of the play field. The rubbers have been changed. I got new flippers. I've done a flipper rebuild kit. Clean all the contacts underneath the play field. This thing should be ready to roll. But before I'm gonna put it on to the cabinet and plug it in and check it out, I'm gonna go into the cabinet and clean all the contacts, because once the table's in place, it's kind of hard to reach in the back of the cabinet. So I'm gonna do that while while I still can. But yes, if you can't tell, I'm really happy that this is all together. All right. Well, that's it for this episode. Next episode, we'll be looking in the cabinet. Hopefully we can plug this playfield in and turn on the lights and make sure all the lights are working. And take care of some of the last minute details. And I'll tell you all about them next episode and explain why I still got a bowl of parts back there. All right. So if you like this stuff, please subscribe, and so you'll be alerted when the next episode comes out. And hey, if I can do it, you can do it. This is proof positive that taking things step by step, you won't get yourself in too much trouble, and you can do whatever you want to do. All right. Peace out.